Is this it? There it is. Come on in. Huh? You brought your shoes with you?
Yeah.
Well, good. You may not need them. We're only going to... We may only go for a little drive.
Oh, okay.
How you been, George?
Oh, pretty good. I've been better, but...
Well, you have? You look good.
Yeah. We had some,
Bertha. Huh?
had some medical problem, not serious though.
Oh, good. Good.
It's these type of things that they find when you look for something, they come up with something else, and then they go and do a bunch of stuff and find out it's nothing to begin with.
How old are you, George?
77.
Okay. How you feeling?
Huh?
You feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. You got a nice place here. You keep it nice, George.
No, I don't. My
You don't
wife
think
does.
so?
My wife.
Your wife is the
My wife is the
responsible?
one that does
I
that.
see. Well, it's good to see you. What are you doing today outside of just going for a drive with me?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about being retired,
It
though,
may
right?
take me all day to find out.
Hey, listen, I gotta ask you. I've always wondered about this. Are you related to Don Allen?
Yeah.
How? In what way? How were you related to them?
Don Allen's grandmother was my great-grandmother. And my father's first cousin.
I gotcha. So, how long does the Allen name go back on Nantucket?
I was there about 1920, 1925.
Yep.
Grandfather came down to rent a restaurant. And it was a railroad car.
Yeah.
And he rented that, and that's where Allen's restaurant started. It was only the railroad car at that time.
It was called. Is it the club car now?
Yeah.
That was originally your family's?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't own it. He rented it.
He rented it. Was it actually a restaurant before that, though?
Yeah, apparently, what they said, they had a restaurant in there before, and nobody was able to stay more than a year or so. They didn't make it.
Oh, is that right? I see. And how was it that your grandfather was able to make it? What was it about his approach?
Well, he had a Swedish wife with a very good cook.
Oh.
And he had worked on the railroad as a cook, as well as other jobs.
Oh, really?
And that's how he came.
So it was your grandfather that came out here.
Yep.
He brought a Swedish wife. Are you Swedish then? Are you
Half.
interesting?
Half.
What was your mother's maiden name?
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think I'm half. I think I'm a quarter Swedish.
Oh, okay. All right. Right, of course, because your grandfather.
My mother's maiden name was Nickerson. And that's the Nickerson Foundation on Cape Cod.
Yeah.
William Nickerson came across way back in the early days and bought most of Cape Cod from the Indians, which was illegal. Completely illegal. And
What do you mean bought?
bought it from the Indians. You weren't supposed to buy it from the Indians. You're supposed to buy it from the political powers in force.
Oh, I see.
And that's where he got his start. And that's where Nickerson, my grandfather, came from. His group broke off and went up to Nova Scotia to go fishing to be closer to the fish.
Now, I wanted you to take me around and just tell me about some of the old things, points of interest that are kind of associated with your family. Because your family used to own a lot of stuff down here, didn't they?
At one time, well, yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about it, and anything that pops to your mind about that, would you?
Yeah, they ran I don't know what the sequence is, but they ran a rooming house down on North Water Street. We went by it, I could pick it out and maybe find the name. That name doesn't ring a bell. They also, somewhere along the line, owned the Nobby Shop. No, I don't think these are all at the same time. I think they progressed. And
Was it called the Nobby Shop back then? Probably not.
I think he rented it to, was it Porky Levine?
Yeah.
And that's where the Nobby Shop got going. There was a blacksmith shop next door. He also bought that somehow and got it torn down. And that is now part of the Opera House property.
Right here.
Well,
Interesting.
right here.
Yeah.
There was also a garage in there.
Where, in the Opera House?
No, right back of this stairway here.
Oh, I see.
There was a garage in there, and then there was another. This was the.
Oh, right, because you can tell this was an add-on, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that end of the building there was there at the time. So that was the Nobby Shop.
Okay, so getting back to those old days, what was this all like in here, George?
This was Island Service Company.
This was Island Service.
It's Island Service. They had wood and lumber and stuff in here, and that's the wharf right over there.
Yeah.
Old South Wharf.
Right.
I don't know if any of the buildings are still there. The scallop shanties were the same, and they had a big...
These were scallop shanties,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scallop shanties were the same.
Interesting.
They had... Island Service had a pier. They sold lumber, wood, oil, and coal. And they had... boats would come in and dig the coal out of the boats and put them in the bins.
Okay.
And it was open. You could drive right down there, and at a flagpole in the center, you could circle around in your car and come back out.
Now, what was here? What was all this right here? Where were this parking lot?
This was Island Service Company, the office, and probably places where they stored the wood. I don't.
And you had roads in between, like normal roads, instead of all this giant parking lot?
You don't
remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I know this road going across here wasn't there. I don't believe.
Oh, really? It looks like it's been there for a long time, though. But yeah.
These oil tanks.
Yeah.
Over the other side by the gazebo. During the Second War, they was over there. Not these, but some other ones. And apparently they leaked, so all this area in here is polluted.
Oh, right. That's right.
Yeah. And then Lawrence Miller came in, and he started an oil company up, and a couple of these smaller tanks he put in over there. They were moved over here when they did the development and added more tanks to it.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Yeah.
I do have a picture, if I can find it, of Straight Wharf back in 1958. And all it was like a little sandbar going down that you could drive over if the tide wasn't too high.
Jeez. So, did you ever think that Nantucket was going to end up to be looking like this?
No.
No. It just... Because for many years it didn't change at all, right? It was just kind of a working island, working people, fishing, right? And some tourists that came in the summertime.
Yeah, there used to be quite a few fishing boats come in. Oh, another thing the Island Service Company did is they had an ice plant. They'd make these 300-pound blocks of ice. Obviously, the marina wasn't here.
Did you know Mr. Beinecke?
I knew of him.
You never really knew him, though.
I never knew him.
No.
Mr. Miller came before him.
Oh, what was he like?
Larry Miller's father. He's the one that started all this development.
Oh, really?
Right after the Second World War. He went around and bought out a lot of places, the Harbor House and some of these other places.
But he was different than Mr. Beinecke, right? How would you describe his...
That's hard to describe. I would say that he was more laid back, more quiet.
Yeah. You know, I remember that one saying about Beinecke. I don't know if I'm paraphrasing here, but you know, something about buying a hot dog for $10 and a bottle of wine instead of selling a hot dog for $1 and a Coke. Why not make it a place where, you know, you attracted a certain kind of person with a certain amount of money?
I think that's probably correct.
Yeah. I think in most... What do you think? Do you think most people are pretty happy with the way things have evolved in that way?
I guess. There aren't many around that knew what it was during the Second World War.
Right.
Prior to the Second World War, you'd have summer people come down, and they would come in and stay in their house all summer.
Right.
And have the same workmen every year, so they became almost part of the family.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and now it's mostly off island.
What did your dad do for a living?
He was the cook at the restaurant.
At the club car?
Yeah.
That what is now the club car?
Yeah.
Was it there?
Huh?
Was it in that location?
Right, same location.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh, he was. How come you didn't become a cook?
I
Do you know that old timer? Of course you do.
Who is it? I didn't even see him.
That's John McLaughlin.
Oh, yeah.
Why didn't you become a cook?
It didn't interest me.
What did interest you?
Building. I was going to be a carpenter. I went to vocational school.
Oh, okay.
And was going to do that. And I remember 2 days before graduating from high school, Mr. True, the teacher and principal there at the carpenter school, called in and said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I don't know. Guess I'll go and work in the restaurant. And he looked at me and said, you won't be there long.
And how long were you there?
One summer.
One summer?
One summer.
And you went right back to building? Or?
No, I then took a correspondence course in electronics.
I see.